welcome back to Combat Mission Fortress Italy with the Gustav Line expansion pack and all of the kind of 3.0 module installed, whatever, all of the up-to-date stuffs. This is a bit of a repeat. I think my first video of Combat Mission, or one of my first, was actually of this particular scenario because it's such an awesome scenario. Things have moved on since then. My method of recording the Combat Mission videos changed, as well as the way I play them, so I'd quite like to go ahead and do a rerun of this from the more cinematic video point of view which you've seen in the past few Combat Mission videos. In any case, babbling, right, so basically our situation is after an attack, we've got the remnants of a platoon, 14 platoon, of some New Zealand folks, I think it's New Zealand. I'm pretty sure it's New Zealand. Kiwis, Kiwi Soldiers, New Zealand. And we've got some German power. So this is actually a really small fight, but it's also incredibly difficult. If you look at this, basically, what they've done in terms of the tactical map, the layout is we start off in this little place down here, and the Germans start off sort of in these buildings and those buildings. And we'll probably see it on the map, but they actually have this building is Overwatch of so this entire area as well as all of that area, but has no lines of sight kind of each end, and this building has views over everything. So for me to even leave the compound, even in the middle of my compound, and I'm actually, so basically it puts you in an incredibly tough position to begin with. So I'm going to go ahead and start through the first orders, and I'll see you in a sec. Okay, so what I've got here is I've got my guys looking up toward the house to start trying to rain fire on any German units they spot, like those folks there, to hopefully try and get their heads pinned down. And then using the spotter, the kind of mortar spotter, I've immediately called down some artillery to try and get these guys' heads down, because that's an MG looks like in that window up there. And that'll start maybe causing me casualties within my sphere unless I can try and pin his head down. Looks like he is down from that mortar fire. And now that that's come down, you can immediately see that I'm starting to move a section and a platoon leader out of the building to try and get a better angle and spread my forces out a wee bit more. To then, my general idea at the moment is to kind of defeat any forces this way, pinning my guys down from that side, and then from then try and work my way into the tram station. So fingers crossed this plan will work. So these guys are now moving, trying to get in position on that wall, so not quite as in the open as they are now. As you can see, that house has ridiculous commanding views of the overall battlefield. It looks like there's only that German section in the corner there and the other machine gun position in that house up at the top. I've also got this mortar in position, hiding behind a wall, so it's beginning to try and fire mortars into the enemy position to try and take out that German pesky position over there. Doesn't look like they're having too much success at this time, so oh dear. Unfortunately, we take our first casualty within the house, and shortly after that we take another casualty outside. So that's 2 casualties down on me, and Germans haven't appeared to have lost anything so far. It's that pesky MG position on the hill, so firefight really isn't going in my way. At this point I've realised that I've actually moved these guys out and they can't actually see into the enemy positions very well, so I start to run them back. It's a wee bit dangerous, it's tough, as you can see they're taking fire from that position on the outside. However, they then are able to pour a lot of fire down into the 2 enemy positions, and coupled with the positions inside the compound, we do manage to seem like we're actually definitely take control of the firefight. So while we've not inflicted any casualties yet on the 3 Germans that are managing to pin my entire force down, we are managing to pin them down. As you can see, they're all hiding. It's also good to see that the other section, which got a wee bit panicked due to that wounded guy, is kind of come back in. They're healing up, starting to be under control, trying to patch up the guys that took some hits. And yeah, fingers crossed. Things start to go in our favour at this point. I heard a painful scream. Sounds like a bullet ricochet may have actually gone inside and taken out one of the other Germans. And then we also see this fellow over here taken down. So it appears at least 1 German casualty has been taken. However, I then take a 3rd. So possibly 2 German casualties to my 3 at the moment. things are definitely not looking perfect. I've also begun to move what used to be my mortar, little mortar section here, around the back to try and get them into a nice position which they can start firing from a different angle. It's all about trying to widen your forces out to get wider fields of fire. Once again, the accuracy of my New Zealand soldiers pays off, and this guy takes a nice bullet to the head. And for the rest of the round, the fire coming in from the rest of my guys appears to either have pinned down the machine gunner to the point where he's not being able to move, or have taken him out because there's definitely no return fire. So we're going to give another minute after this and see if he pokes his head up again. Unfortunately, our eager enemy appears back and decides to start taking pot shots at my folks down south. So he's busy reloading, but towards the end of this latest minute, he then starts to try and engage my forces. Misses. As you can see, a Piet is launched to try and take him out, but misses and gets the wall instead. But we managed to pin him down again. But we definitely need to take him out before we can move anywhere on this map. Finally, what looks to be a ricochet through the window to the right here kills this MG gunner. So finally we are freed up to then begin our full-on assault throughout the rest of the enemy compounds. Due to the lack of enemy, I start moving the rest of my forces out of the buildings. I need every single man, because this is an under-strength platoon, to the front line. Unfortunately, as folks are running, my folks spot yet another German position up in the top window. So as you can see, they're beginning to fire, and he's starting to take pot shots at us. Again, a fierce firefight ensues with my men trying to take on this lone sniper up in the building with his rifle. Even though we're pouring huge amounts of fire in, none of my men seem to be able to hit. Luckily, it looks at the beginning of the next minute, my faith was unfounded, or my lack of faith was unfounded, because they did manage to take him out. So that's four definite German casualties, possibly a fifth. So things are looking good at this point. We've silenced the house. And so begins one of the messiest assaults I think I've ever done in this game, other than the first time I tried this. I obviously accidentally forgot to tell this platoon commander to wait. So he just rushes in ahead of his troops, screaming Leroy Jenkins, heads straight into the building, and the Germans go, "Oh look, fish in a barrel," and he immediately dies. And his buddy goes, "Oh, that looks like a good idea, I'm going to follow," and then I'm going to stand here facing away from where the shots are firing from, and then I'm just going to, fall over again. At this point, at least their sacrifice wasn't necessarily in vain. As you can see, some troops here, while taking a casualty, still managed to try and then pour some fire on the Germans without taking too many hits on the way there. The mortar took ages to get the wheel of peat down, so instead of getting that smoke down to cover these guys getting there, it stops them being able to fire at the Germans. This is a fairly interesting assault. They go in, they start firing, things are looking good, but then as soon as they get inside, the Germans immediately open up, they take casualties, and they sprint outside the building. So as you can see, the Germans do actually take a casualty in the assault, but when they start sprinting out, they just end up right next to the rest of my forces and lose the final machine gunner. At this point, a bit of a firefight ensues between my folks all along this wall, all aiming in towards the Germans, who line up nicely on this window here to aim at my defences. Fair enough. This idiot starts crawling back towards the house and takes a hit. So frankly, the Pixel Trooper are not showing their best behaviour today, or their smartest moves. However, we are inflicting German casualties in this firefight, so things aren't looking too bad, other than all of the dead Kiwis in the inside of that first building. Again, this is a bit of a weird firefight, but my men do seem to be winning it, so I can't complain too much. Lots of German casualties in there. We do take more and more of them down as an MG that decides to try and last as long as we can. I've begun to send a small assaulting section around with 2 riflemen and a guy with a Tommy gun. It's definitely not what you meant to say. Round the back of the building, and they do manage to get pretty much all the way around without meeting any contact. And yeah, so it's actually what happens next, which is the interesting part. So friendly units get inside, as you can see, and we actually discover the carnage that actually was inside this building. As you can see, there's huge amounts of German dead, which we weren't really expecting. But immediately they turn their back to where the Germans were before, and this guy just starts taking pot shots at a body. And they start engaging the Germans, which obviously run across towards the end of the buildings. So the final guy goes down, unfortunately, of the assaulting section. Sorry, the second last guy. So there's only one left in that building. The Germans obviously decide to then just bail from that building, so they just run all their troops away. Unfortunately for them, I managed to take most of them out. I'm running the rest of my troops up at the moment because I know this building's now mine, so I've chucked a load of British in, and you can see the Germans fleeing in the background there, and the fellows that I've still got on the wall are managing to pin them down with further fire. So it looks like we've mopped this target up nicely. Way more casualties than I was expecting, but it is assaulting into a heavily fortified and very, very heavily defended German position, so not as bad as it could have been. The Germans do appear to have a much, much, much higher rate of accuracy than me. I see there he's doing basically 360 no-scope the guy over there. So that's just not fair. Unfortunately for him, I do have a section running up to his blind right-hand side, and they managed to take him out, and then continue firing bullets at him even though they saw him go down, because he deserves it, because he's a German apparently. He must really, look at this guy, he must hate him. He must be really angry. If I had a face like that, I'd be angry too. We actually had this come up at the end of there, so we get a New Zealand Army total victory. So apparently I didn't even need to go and secure the top one, which is a bit frustrating. Although it's given me that, I think it's because I've just managed to completely wipe out the German force, which is good. We lost 7 men killed and 6 men wounded. Not particularly awesome result, but it's not, I know it's not too bad. 7 men dead, 6 men can probably get back into the fight. Enemy killed 5 and 8. What does that equal? 13 to 13. Exactly, completely equal losses. Since I was assaulting, I'm going to take that as a pretty good result. As you can see, the only thing we had left was the opponent in that other building, and since I was going to assault that building from this side with heavy covering fire, I have a feeling I would have won that with very, very minimal losses. Over here you can see we've got some fairly horrendous casualties here, all over the place. We kind of, the Germans, there's too many Brits lost, but the Germans, basically all of their casualties, or most of them, were in this room here. At least, yeah, look how many there are. That entire squad's dead, that entire squad's dead. They took another guy in here who was lost, but then, as you can see outside here, that was where they fled to before dying. And then up here we have the two pesky folks. I think it was a sniper, yeah, sniper team, and a Gewehr. So one was armed with the Gewehr and one was armed with the sniper and sniper rifle, and they managed to take me out. Then we had the other team, the MG team, up in this window. So those 4 were by far the hardest to deal with. But as you can see, we managed to pin them down and then move forward into a fairly successful assault. So yeah, even Angry Joe over here, I'm pleased with them. I'm pleased with that result. So yeah, this has been Peter. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you again next time.